welcome to Prospero's Pit. I'm here with Tanner Sutton, founder and CEO of The Garden DIY.
Yes, sir.
I got my first question ready for you, if you're ready.
Yeah, fire away.
What is a DIY?
Well, I mean, straightforward, it's do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
But I think in the music industry, it's kind of taken that to another aspect, and not just the venue doing it themselves. It's kind of also a lot of the artists. It's up and coming artists who are kind of trying to make it themselves too. They don't have the big record deals yet. I mean, because frankly, we do it ourselves, so we don't have enough money to pay
Right.
pay the big record deal people.
Uh-huh.
So we have a great community around us that we get to book from, and they get to tell people, kind of all other people that are trying to come up. And I mean, I wouldn't say there's a network of other DIYs, but they definitely tap in with each other. It's like, hey, I heard of you from this house living room I played at in St. Louis. Can I come to Kansas City? I'm like, yeah, man, sure. Like I mean, if you were comfortable with playing in someone's living room in St. Louis, come do it here.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think it's a do-it-yourself aspect for sure, but it kind of sets an expectation for the crowd, the bands, like kind of what it is. It's all people
Right.
collectively trying to get shit done because they don't have the sponsors or whatever yet.
Yeah. And so the garden specifically is DIY in the space of like music performance.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it started with just an idea. There's a big tree in my backyard.
Uh-huh.
Cut down the tree with my former roommate, and I'm like, oh, we got all this space. It was a joke almost to build a stage and have a concert, but then I had a Home Depot credit card and some free time, so we built a stage and had a
Nice.
concert, and it just kind of kept going from there. Yeah, and I mean, luckily, which is really cool, I still have no idea what I'm doing. Luckily, I have a bunch of people
That's
now
good. Yeah.
around me that do. I think smart people
Uh-huh.
surround themselves with other smart people.
Yeah.
'Cause I mean, no one knows everything, right?
Right.
That's the thing. But
And only
that
a
said,
few of us have
yeah.
Home Depot credit cards.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
The select few.
But luckily, too, there are already a couple DIY spaces in Kansas City where
Right.
I've been to a couple of those shows and be like, oh, like the questions I had, like, because when you're gonna have a show in your living room or backyard, I mean, originally you can have the idea of, hey, let's have a concert, but then all the thoughts come in of, okay, do we want to have food? Do we want to have drinks? Is there a permit for that? Blah, blah, blah. Do we just kind of not have a permit for that? Whatever it is
Yeah.
at the start. What do we risk? Whatever. And then it turns into, oh, we got a whole thing on our hands. So it was super nice to have people in our community already doing this. To
Right.
kind of go check out, see how they do it, what they're thinking. First and foremost, most people think I'm crazy, but so it's nice to be surrounded by the people that
Yeah.
don't, and I think we have a good home for that in Kansas City.
And usually the great ideas are a little crazy.
Yeah, I think they have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do people think you're crazy?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily think people. I mean, I know my parents sometimes think I'm crazy
Of
for doing
course,
stuff like
of
that, but I mean
yeah.
that's their job, right?
Yeah.
But no, like just from the standpoint of making friends, making. I mean, I have a great partner now, but we weren't always together the whole time the garden was going on. So like even trying to go on a date or whatever, as soon as you bring that up, it's either, oh my gosh, that's so cool,
Yeah.
or like I'm gonna
Right.
talk to someone else over
Right,
here.
right,
Like what?
right.
Like it's a lot of people think it's crazy, but I think the people that it's helping, that
Yeah.
I vibe with, that I've surrounded myself with in
Right.
Kansas City, don't necessarily think I'm crazy.
And I mean, like there's this fine line between house party and like what you're doing with the DIY
Yeah.
space. And I mean, I think a big part of it is like you have this giant space, this backyard, really, that is in the middle of a neighborhood here in Kansas City.
Yes, it is.
And I would expect that your neighbors would find you the craziest, but you seem to have a good relationship with everybody.
I mean, I'm sure if you asked them if they thought I was crazy, they might say yeah, for sure. But I do have great neighbors, and we make sure we talk to them. It's not like we have shows there every day.
Right.
And the music's done by 10 when we have it. It's like we definitely have to set the expectation with the neighborhood.
Yeah.
For sure. And I mean, frankly, it's just almost it's legality reasons, liability reasons, stuff like that. But if you're gonna have a concert in your backyards, people are gonna hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really like about keeping it a secret. It's about just doing it the right way, making
Yeah.
sure everyone's cool with it, making sure everything's donation based. Right? You're not twisting someone's arm. You gotta give me $10. No,
Right.
donate if you can. Come see the show, man. Have a good time. Like that's
Right.
what it's about. And if you can stick to that, and
Uh-huh.
then you'll be good. When you start getting greedy or demanding stuff, one, that's legally that's not going to do you too well in that situation. But then you're going to start making neighbors mad, and
Mm-hmm.
if they're mad, you're not having concerts, man. Like
Right.
it's that simple.
Yeah, that's honestly like fascinating that you're running an entire business that is realistically at the whim of your neighbors.
Yeah, the monthly concerts for sure when we do them at the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really funny story about that. The people that I thought were going to be the most mad were my next door neighbors, right?
Right.
The stage is in a corner of the yard. It's backed up against their house. The stage is closer to their house than it is to my house, and it's in my yard. So that's like just
Yeah.
right there. It's like,
Yeah.
so maybe went over and talked to them last, made sure everyone else was cool with them. We're like, all right, just final turn of the stone here, and
Right. The most important one.
they were skeptical a little bit, but they're like, have your fun. A mother daughter relationship, two women, I think, have kids, kind of just chilling.
Yeah.
Did their thing. Haven't been to a concert in a while, so it turned out when they saw one in the backyard while they were skeptical, they afterwards thanked me. They were like, we haven't been to a concert in 20 years because the mom is in a wheelchair, so she can't get around as easy. So it's like, I haven't been able to take my mom to a concert in years. I haven't been to one, and like, we're so thankful this is here. I'm like, wow, I'm surprised, kind of, but
That's
I didn't want to
wonderful.
say I was surprised.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, of course you love it. Yeah.
That's wonderful. You brought the concert to
Yeah.
them. That's pretty cool. What are the odds of that happening? I have seen one of the more iconic concerts here in Kansas City at the Garden. Was probably, I would say number one, the most like iconic concert I've ever been to at the Garden in Kansas City was during Swoovy's concert.
Oh, yeah.
During the great downpour.
That?
One of the bigger storms I've seen in Kansas City, and it was so unfortunate because like the amount of prep that went into that show was like months and months in advance, and then the day of Swoovy coming to the Garden to put on a show was like the biggest rain storm I've seen in a minute.
I had not seen that much rain in a long time. Like,
Yeah.
you're not kidding. Just the way because the yard is usually pretty good with rain. I have drains in the yard in a bunch of places, and not that stuff really pulled up as much, but there was just so much rain. The whole yard was mud. So
Right.
it was wild.
Have you had shows in the rain before?
No.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
like,
I mean that, and I mean
to
you know
almost-
Bill.
Yeah, to literally almost anybody but Bill and Swoovy, like a rain downpour on an outdoor show, you call it. It's
And I mean,
it's done.
at the end of the day, I'm sure, and I mean, Bill's the money guy. I'm sure they didn't make a ton of money in the rain, but I can tell you that everyone will remember that concert forever.
Forever.
And if that's the mission of the show, it was accomplished,
Right.
100%. And I can't tell you, how many times between me, Bill, and Swoovy the whole day, like, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. And, well, I shouldn't say Bill. Bill was like, I'm getting it done, man.
Yeah.
I'm getting it done. I'm like,
Seriously.
do it. I'm like, do it. And the Swoovies,
Yeah.
they're running around, what was it, the Friday or whatever, the day before. I'm working from home, and I can see out my window. And I just start seeing stuff go up, and I come check. I'm like, hey, what you guys doing? He's like, oh, we're going to put an A-frame here. We're going to... I'm like, it's going to be crazy, but we're doing it. And it ended up being crazy, but it was a lot of fun.
It's the most tarps I've ever seen congregated in one place.
We should have called Guinness or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because you're right. It was like the Great Circus had come to town as
It really did.
These big blue tarps were being thrown up over this giant space, this giant backyard space in the middle of the rain. Like, it wasn't like we started doing it before it started raining. Like, it was during the rainstorm we were putting up the tarps in the tent to get some kind of relief from the rain. And around 2 o'clock, I was hearing the Titanic music play.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, this is
I
not
mean,
happening.
you had that, and you had. Well, I mean, obviously, I mean, me and you know this, but everyone wants to come for a sound check, right?
Yeah.
There was nowhere to sound. The equipment was inside waiting to
Yeah.
get at least to a point where the stage. I was like, I'll bring the equipment out if Bill. I'm looking at the stage and we can count to like 10 or 15 and we don't see water coming on the stage.
Right.
I was like, I don't care about the rest of the stuff for now.
Yeah.
But to get the equipment out there, let's do that. So we got that done, and then it was like Bill doing the rest of it while we're sound checking, while people are starting to get there. While it was
Yeah.
craziness, and I mean. My yard didn't love it, but I loved it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I mean your yard turned into a giant mud
Yeah.
pit, but like I said, it was the most iconic concert I ever seen because Swoovy killed it. Joshua James Warren killed it. His performance of "Storm in the Shelter" during the downpour was. I was like, this is some of the most like magical stuff I've ever seen live in person, and yeah, I was like. That was my first and only in-person experience at the Garden was Swoovy's concert, which was, like I said,
that's one to have for sure. I mean, again, we've had, I mean, frankly, most of the shows people-wise are bringing that just because of the conditions of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, that, and there was a show, our 4th of July show, very memorable, and then the ones we have around the holidays with Christmas and New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that. Those grouping, like there's nothing that kind of touch. I mean, not that every show we have is great, man, but like,
tell me about the 4th of July
just
show.
stuff comes together. You know,
Yeah.
when everything comes together. When, I mean, you know how it is putting stuff together. Sometimes people are late. Sometimes people are whatever.
Right.
And if you can get all that together and everything ends up going perfectly, that happens very rare in the music business. And I can think of as crazy as it was, that Swoovy show, like it started just about a half hour late when I start every show. You start a little bit late, give people time to get there, and it went off without a hitch, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and like, okay, so the July show, why that just sticks out to me, one, the band that headlined was Jamogi Bridges band. I don't know if you know Jamogi.
I do know Jamogi.
But I get to play bass in that band as well. So for one thing, it was the first time I got to be part of the concert, kind of.
Nice.
So that was cool. It was like, you know, I did have to jump over a keyboard and switch something on the soundboard during the set. But we've solved that problem now. So if Jamogi comes back to the Garden, I think I'll have someone that can handle sound while I'm on the stage there. But no, so I mean, that was fun about the July show. But also we lit off a shit ton of fireworks.
Okay.
That, I mean, it was a lot of fireworks.
Yeah.
So that was just, I mean, it was a borderline of really cool and almost dangerous. And that was just like another really memorable part of
the benefits of doing it in a backyard.
Doing it in a backyard, man. I mean, we've done a lot of cool things with it.
Been
and the amount of people that we've actually got to travel from different places has been wild.
Really?
Yeah.
You got some like out of town artists?
Every month we usually do have a few, yeah. Well, I should say now for the winter, January, well, our next show in January is January 13th. Mm-hmm. It's at Inglewood Arts Center in Independence, Missouri. Okay. We basically sign verbal, whatever. We have agreement with them for our shows when it's cold. Last year, we had them in the living room. It was great, totally up for that, but this winter, we needed to make some renovations to the house. We need to fix the stage. Someone jumped through it at one of the concerts. That was pretty fun.
Oh, cool. Highlight play.
But so now it's all patched and it's fine. But we just need to, put another coat of everything on that. And somebody once has asked me that we booked to add a catwalk to the stage. I don't know if that's like, we're taking the winter to kind of reevaluate everything we want to do for the shows out in the backyard for the summer.
Right.
That said, we're at Inglewood Arts in Independence, Missouri, so it's every second Saturday, January 13th, next Saturday. But the next show, February 10th and March 9th.
Cool.
And then I think it's kind of up for, let's see what the weather looks like around April and what we want to do then. But yeah, for even the last one, the New Year's, we had someone come from Florida and a band come from Omaha, Nebraska. Again, that was at Inglewood Arts, so it's not like they were coming to just play in the living room or in the backyard, but still, it's really cool to see like some of those artists reach out to us. One in particular that sticks out just because they've come 3 times and they keep hitting me up like when they're going to be back through Kansas City. Name's Pull String, and they're from Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's an 8.5 hour drive, and they continue making it.
Wow.
And they play in the living room once in the back, or living room twice in the backyard once.
Sick. Are these artists reaching out to you, or are you reaching out to them?
All the out of towners basically reach out to us just because I don't have that connection yet. Hopefully I'll get there somewhere with maybe like the Springfields and even the closer towns that do have DIYs. But no, it's kind of like, I heard your name from this, I'm reaching out. And they're like, can I play? A lot of people, which I would like to accommodate more, we don't really get to, is that they ask for a specific date. They're like, hey, I'm rolling through Casey on this specific day, and it'd be like Wednesday. And like,
cool.
at that, and who knows, maybe one day there's a actual building in our future, something where that's possible. But right now I'm like, to have a show, I got to take all my living room furniture that's usually there and like move it upstairs into my room, and it's a whole like that's a Saturday.
It's a whole organization.
But they mostly reach out to us, and if we can accommodate them, we do. If not, like I said, there's other DIYs in Kansas City. Excuse me. One's called Club Sandwich, which I do love that name.
Right, you mentioned that before. I do love that name as well.
And then the Greenhouse is another one.
Nice.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I know Club Sandwich was doing some renovations, kind of same, ramping up whatever that may be. But they're both. The Greenhouse is a old school basement. It's packed in there. It's hot, sweaty craziness, and Club Sandwich is kind of the same thing on a first floor of an old house.
Do you have like a screening process at all, or is it if it works, it works?
But for the bands?
Yeah, for the bands.
I mean, there's definitely a screening process. Especially for the ones, I would say, that want to come out of town.
Yeah.
Mostly, I say mostly because I know I miss emails. I know I miss stuff like everyone else. I don't want someone to listen to this podcast and say, he never messaged me back. But mostly we try to get to everyone we can and get them booked in some form or fashion in KC. Because if they're not one of the more, popular people that might not draw a bunch of people or whatever, that it may not work for them to be a headliner, they can easily be an opener for one of the shows. And, they got a couple friends in KC that want to see him play, that'd be great, know. And that aspect, I think we got to do a couple cool things by give people a couple local KC artists their first performances. You know what I mean? From that aspect, like I've never performed. I want a place to perform. I was like, you can perform in my living room at 5:30 on Saturday. Like, like you can open up our show and see if you like it. Like there won't be a lot of people there yet, but there'll be a handful of people start showing up and see how you like it.
Yeah. So you're not from Kansas City. You're from Pittsburgh. You're
PA.
from Pittsburgh. So I'm curious, what is it about the Kansas City music scene that like drew you, that made you want to like be such a major contributor to it?
I mean, Kansas City in general. They say the Midwest nice thing or whatever. I think there's almost something to it though.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
just being from Pittsburgh.
Neighbors. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say like the old like life moves faster on the East Coast, but it seems like people give you the time of day more here. Like they're willing to, kind of neighbor help a neighbor even kind of thing. Like we were saying, like that. And maybe it's just like, I will say the community I grew up in, very helpful. But then I kind of moved to Pittsburgh after college and stuff.
Right.
And it was just it was very, hard to, like, I was playing a bunch of solo acoustic sets all over the city.
Right.
Tons of fun. But so were a million other people, and I didn't know any of them. Like, it just was, and maybe it was, me not breaking into the scene in the right way or whatever. But I came here, walked into a couple open mics, then I was in a Facebook group, and then I met this person, then I met that person, and
Yeah.
it just kept snowballing. And everyone I met in Kansas City, especially most of the local people, go like I remember. I think when we talked before, you talked about going to the piano room.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my first experiences of open mic. I think my second. The first one was at Ollie's. It's an old place on corner of Gillum and 31st. I think it's Cliff's Tap House now.
Okay.
On Martini Corner. They used to have one on Sundays, but piano room.
Uh-huh.
That was my second one on Wednesdays. I remember going in there, and meeting some of the people that
Yeah.
still hang out with today. Still are the same
Yeah.
people that are going to piano room, and like Joshua James, Swoovy, those people we mentioned
Right.
before. I mean, you can't tell me that you walked in the piano room as a stranger and those two guys aren't going to like give you a hug and try to get you to shake a tambourine or something at the
Right.
open mic. Like, I mean, those kind of guys is what really, made me want to stay in Kansas City, made me want to do this here.
Uh-huh.
People like Swoovy, Joshua James, pretty much anyone, Ben Custer, all those guys at the piano room,
Yeah.
are nice people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all very good musicians too,
Yeah.
and that doesn't hurt. So it's just everyone kind of lifts each other up,
Right.
puts each other on their shows, helps with different things, and I mean, that's why I started it. But why I guess it keeps going is now a lot of those people that I met are not part of what we do or have played a bunch of shows with us.
Yeah.
And man, I don't like knock on wood, but like I don't have any like ill will against anyone that I met in Kansas City or anything. Everybody that's been a part of it has made me want to keep doing it for the most part.
Mm-hmm. That's wild. I have such like a similar kind of story with in regards to that. Piano room is already legendary if you talk to the people, like the right people, but
yeah.
just like as watching these these guys' careers like really grow and knowing where they were a year ago to where they are now is like it just to me I'm like damn that space is just like continuing to build legend as their careers kind of like continue to grow because like it's interesting you say that I feel like a kinship to everything you just said because I feel like you have the musicians and then you kind of have the facilitators like
Oh yeah.
the talent is the talent but when you talk about music scenes Kansas City I would like honestly say it's not really high up there unless you're talking to the people who know, right? And so if you're talking to like any like you're looking at LA and you're looking at New York and you're looking at these bigger hubs,
If you
Atlanta.
tell someone you're moving to Kansas City for music, they're gonna be like, "Oh, cool,
Right,
cool."
right. And so like a musician in a small scene, can only go so far, right? Unless you get up and you move to one of those places, and that's why I think what you were touching on a little bit is like why you felt in like a bigger city on the East Coast or on the West Coast, you feel a little bit less kinship, is because people are coming here for business.
Yeah.
Whereas like Kansas City is, I don't know. I always think it's like this kind of weird middle ground where someone is like stopping. You stop in Kansas City. You stop in Kansas City.
Yeah.
You're going somewhere else.
Destination kind
And
of.
you take it like a break in Kansas City and to like have this like mass of talent in music and musicians kind of being like no I think we're gonna build something here and so then you have people like you and I who go well we have a certain set of skills like Jason Bourne or something like that and you build that stage for them and that's a beautiful thing and I agree like I feel like the Kansas City music scene does really take care of its own and it does it's a rare thing like you can walk into so many open mics and just start like talking and meeting new people and like one open mic night and you have like 4 or 5 connections from just going out once.
I mean, take the example. I'll just say Jamogi's band. Jamogi's band has a ton of people in it. It's a big band.
I think it's like a 10 person band.
It depends what show it is.
It
really does. Because if he
wants to add, if
he wants to add rap to a show, then you can assume someone like Antonio J or Marcus Reigns or somebody that's in the circle of open mic, same kind of thing, that Raps is going to be part of the band for that show or something like
Right.
that. But like just in general, I met Jamogi at Art Garden, which is a place, an art fair, and at the time it wasn't a river market. It's now in Berkeley Riverfront every Sunday during the summer. But I do the sound for them. We book bands and stuff now. Last year was the first time. It was awesome. Didn't have the budget for that the year before, so we just ran an open mic, and it was in the river market. Jamogi walked up and was like, "Can I sing a song?" And I was like, "Sure, man. What's your name? You want to sign the open mic? Whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna do one." Yeah, I mean, if you ever heard him, he's not a little soft spoken, but
Yeah.
he doesn't necessarily put everything out there. He just says what he has to. He's kind
Right.
of a matter of fact guy, and
But once he gets the
oh
microphone.
yeah, once he gets the microphone.
Yeah.
But he's very, he's just like, no, I'll sing one song. I'm like, okay, yeah, man, cool. Sings a song, kills the song, right? I'm like,
Right.
hey, man, that was really good. Known him ever since,
Yeah.
but it was, meeting him at an open mic, and I also met Z underscore at an open mic, and I met Noye at an open mic I ran, and now all those people are in the band.
Right.
And so it's like everyone that Jamogi has, not everyone, because he has had some friends and other connections, but a lot of the people that are in that band are people that I know we both met through just the Kansas City music scene. It wasn't like, hey, I have this band, I'm in Kansas City. It's like, hey, I'm an artist, I want to create a band. And then he was able to pull from all the people right here. And there's 10 people in the band, sometimes more. So
Right.
it's just, and I mean, Swoovy, same
Yeah.
situation. He's got a bunch of people that are willing. I mean, we had an open mic with him on the 21st was like our Christmas open mic at the Combine, and Jansen and the Chunk were playing with him. I'm like,
Right.
everyone's just willing to help someone out. It's awesome.
Right. Are those connections part of the reason why, like, you keep doing this? Because I mean, it's not easy work.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, but it's fun most of the time.
Most of the time.
But yeah, the connections like that, I would say 100% definitely the reason I'm doing it. But also those connections are also why we have like 8 people on our garden board now.
Right.
Which is Antonio J, who's a local rapper. I did let everyone pick their names that were on the board. So he picked the sheriff of hip hop. So we have the sheriff of hip hop
Nice.
and the deputy sheriff of hip hop. His name's Quinn Conrad. He
Nice.
makes beats and stuff. He's hella good at what he does too. And then we have someone that handles our food as the food coordinator. Name's Christina. Worked with her at the Combine. Met her through a connection. Now she handles all the food for the Combine.
Nice.
She is the catering coordinator for the Combine, but
Yeah.
she handles the food for the garden as well. Then we have my partner Rachel McMillan. She's fronted a few rock bands. Used to work for the Buzz and the Rock, so she's
Right.
been in radio. And then we have Jamogi, who's on the board. Gives a lot of production advice and is great with social media reels, which is something I suck at. So
Yeah, such a
now
skill.
when you see cool reels from the garden, they're either from Jamogi or my partner Rachel. So like, just all those connections are definitely why I keep doing it, but they're also why the garden's what the garden is
Right.
now. Like even in the last 4 months since we started this board, like I was driving myself crazy. I was getting burnt out, but I was like, and I was getting to the point where I was like, dude, I can't do this anymore. But then when you put on a show, something in the living room, something at Inglewood Arts, an open mic at the Combine, and you're around all those people, you're like, dude, I can't quit doing this. Like, this is what it's about, man. And so it's like, okay, let's bring some people in.
Right.
Who'd I bring in? All the people that were already around me. So the community is definitely why I'm still doing it, why it's still happening. Because if it weren't for the other people, I'd have said, hey, man, this was fun. But like, I got shit to do. I gotta go back to school. I gotta make money somehow.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Right. No, I know exactly where you're at, and that's an incredible thing to like have people join you like in an idea that was at first your idea and it's now becoming our idea. Like to have people kind of join with really no other like benefit other than the fact that it's building community. Like that is just that's light. Like it's a beautiful it's love. It's just a beautiful thing. And and I'm like kind of in a similar situation right now, like what I do with the Bell Tower
Yeah.
series with live music
Which is amazing,
upstairs.
by the way.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it. I have a team now that, you know, they do it like I don't make any money off those things, and they're on board with me, with no other than the fact that we love doing this. We
Hmm.
love creating a space for people to perform their art. We love creating a space that makes these young artists feel important and feel like what they're
Exactly.
doing is important, because it is
I was gonna say
important.
yeah, because it
It
is.
is so important, and like and in a world that like the one we live in today, it makes you feel not important unless you have hundreds of thousands of streams or whatever it
Hmm.
is that like, but that's not the case, and I think that right there is why Kansas City's music scene, like nobody can hold a torch to Kansas City's music scene, because the only people who think Kansas City's music scene is important are the ones that are in the middle of it and
Yeah.
are in the middle, who are participating, who are showing up to people's shows
Yeah.
every weekend, who are like doing these things, and it's like, well, you can't tell us shit then, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, you'll see that, like, and you will see those. I mean, how many shows does Swoovy, does Jamogi, does Joshua James? They
Hmm.
go to a million shows. They go to
Yeah,
every show they can because they know how important that shit is.
yeah,
Like they go to support, and it in turn. There's a lot of people at their shows. There are a lot of people that support them. It is a beautiful thing,
yeah,
man. It really is. I mean, another person that's really I just want to say thank you to while I
yeah.
got a microphone is because we're thinking about it is Russ Hill. He does all the sound and basically all the booking for Inglewood Arts,
Nice.
and they do a bunch of events themselves with
Hmm.
music and stuff. But yeah, he does a lot of work over there, and everyone he books, he's like, I want to meet him at a show first, right? So
Right.
he goes to, I think he's at a show every day if there's not one in Inglewood Arts. Like,
Hmm.
if I'm going to do a show, I just assume I'm going to see Russ there. It's like, it's cool to see people like Russ, like all the
Hmm.
other people we mentioned that care really so much. Because if you're in it for the money, you're going to be
Yeah,
disappointed. I mean,
yeah,
it's, it's not in New York. It's not in
yeah,
LA. We don't have the people to get in the door
yeah.
to make like
It's just not
it's
there yet. Yeah.
but like this is like it just feels like I mean and people talk to me about this a lot. They're like it feels like I mean there's definitely something here, but it feels like it's on the verge of just taking a Swoovy, a Joshua James, a whoever, taking someone to
Hmm.
get something with the 100,000, whatever it is,
Yeah,
takes one person to blow up,
yeah.
and
That right there is it.
it
Like,
puts the team on their back almost
hmm
because everyone's. It feels like a team, a
it,
community
it is,
almost.
and it is a team. Like, and that's what I think is like. I think that's why it feels like, uh, that sense of, well, one, everyone's damn good. Like
Yes.
everyone is damn talented. Like there's no debate about that. Like, not to say like it's not like the Kansas City music scene is small because it's a bunch of whatevers,
Yeah.
but like these guys are really really good, and they're and that's why I think like it feels like as soon as one person is gonna kick down a door, and then everyone's like gonna storm through, and I want to talk more about that, because like that's where I think a lot of people think I'm crazy, because I'm not from Kansas City, but I've been here for 2 years now, and I believe in this city. I believe in this scene, and I believe that there is something here, and I do believe. I feel in my like gut and in my heart that we are on the verge of something. Something is going to happen. Like, and I don't know what that looks like, but as someone is invested in this music scene as
Hmm.
you are, like I'd love to hear what your opinions are on where you think Casey's headed music wise.
Yeah. I mean, like I mean, I think you said. I think it takes one person to kind of kick that door open. I mean, off the top of your head, like when you think of art, who's hot now from Kansas City? I mean, you got Tech Nine, you got,
Mm.
but there's
Uh, um, what's the oh my god, I'm completely blanking on their name. Indie band. Uh, this is such a shame. I know who.
I mean, there's a ton of people that's so
Yeah.
good, but I'm just trying to think of like I mean, my point is, I think we're very close to people saying, "Oh, they're from Kansas City. They're from Kansas City. They're from Kansas City,"
Right.
because there's a ton of talent here, and it's good people. It's people supporting people, I think we're uniquely coming at it from a lot of. There's a lot of people wanting to help with a lot of different skills. Like what you do is completely different than what I have to offer, but we're both helping local musicians.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, musicians who don't have a lot of money need that help, and it's like, okay, well maybe in a
The
town,
greeting committee.
the greeting committee.
I was like,
Yes.
who was it?
Yes.
But yeah, the greeting committee is, I think, that's someone I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are from KC. They're dope too. Shout
We
out.
were talking a little bit. Yeah, shout out the greeting committee. We were talking a little bit before we press record on this. But I do think it's interesting because another name to throw out there is Keelan Vaughn, Keelan Van. My bad, Keelan. But he is getting, you know, or I mean, you're seeing a lot of musicians getting booked by a lot of surrounding businesses in Kansas City.
Yeah, one that I just saw, which was him too, was Society.
Yeah.
And now they booked No Connection, which is a band. They headlined our first garden show ever.
Right.
And yeah, but like, yeah, Society's one, which I thought was a nightclub, but now they're booking bands, and that's awesome.
That's what it looks like. It looks, and that's, I think, what's really exciting about the music scene is that you're seeing like all these businesses that we're talking about coming out of COVID, and still bouncing back, even though it's been 2, 3, 4 years now, still fighting to bounce back from that. You're seeing the way they're getting people into the doors, in the front doors, are these local musicians, these local bands, because each band brings their own crowd, and that's really interesting to kind of like watch as it unfolds, because you're starting to see like Chartreuse Saloon just built like a stage,
Yeah, I
and at
saw
first
that.
they were just kind of like a pool bar.
Yeah, and they had like what they would put one acoustic person in the corner. And
Yeah.
it's like, here's a speaker, have fun. Like
Exactly, and now they got a stage, and it's like all of a sudden you're seeing these like businesses kind of like throwing up platforms for musicians in the city, trying to get people in through their doors.
Yeah, and I think, man, everything's expensive.
Yeah.
Like everything's mad expensive. Everyone's broke.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm broke. Even if I wasn't, I still would be, because the garden would just be richer and I'd still be broke. But yeah, I think everyone's broke. Everyone's tired, man. And if you can spend $10 or nothing to go see live music, I mean, I go out with my girlfriend and we go get food. It's $100. Like,
Where are you going?
I mean, anyway, not like a fast food, but like if you go to a restaurant and you get a drink, and it's like around $100, and I feel like that not always was the case, but we got this unique opportunity where you can go see killer music for $10 or $15, and like, and then go and at some place at Chartreuse Saloon which you can get nachos and a margarita, and that isn't gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Like I think people are getting more hyped up for the dive bar and the live music scene and everything like that than ever before. One, because it's a little affordable, and it's more fun than all that shit anyway, and people are figuring that out.
And it's like, if you're gonna spend money, like you can spend all that money on just drinks and dinner. Yeah. I'm not gonna go, but if you bring this like side of entertainment to things, that'll get me off my couch. Yeah. That'll get me to go and have fun, and then all of a sudden you have this scene where it's like, especially if you play music, but even if like you're someone who doesn't perform or whatever, just going and just like talking to people in the scene, and it's all of a sudden like, well, like, I mean, you and I are a testament to this. Like, it's so infectious that you just want to use whatever skill set that you may have or whatever assets that you may have to help kind of like just to participate in the scene.
For sure.
Because it is exciting, and that's what it feels like. It's really exciting right now.
Yeah, I really think it is. I mean, and you almost, I guess, it's not even like a I'm just using because I work for a sushi company during the day, and I was gonna say repeat customer, and that's not anywhere near what I would call the people that come to the shows. But I was like, returning showgoers would
Like
be
a
the way to put it, a
regulars.
regular.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's there's been a few times recently where I've had someone come and be like, "Hey, it's nice to see you again. Thanks for what you're doing,"
Mhm.
and like. I do know them. I have seen them, but I didn't know them 3 months ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
And now at they're at a garden show. They're at an they're at all a bunch of different places. I'm going now. I'm like, I met you like 3 months ago. Now you're everywhere. They're like, well, everyone
Yeah.
like I love the scene. Like the scene's cool. Everyone's
Right.
good. Like
Right.
yeah, and everyone share. Like I think if you follow somebody on Instagram, they're sharing other people's stuff. It's
Yeah.
like if you can follow a garden or someone that's like here's the local shows. I
Right.
mean, you go to a show every day of the week and probably spend $100 over a whole week instead of going out to eat
Right.
or something a couple times.
Right.
It's fun, man, and
Yeah.
it's
And I think
just about-
yeah, that's the main thing. It's like it's fun. It's exciting, and it also feels like you're participating in something. You're a part of something greater, and that I think is like the main selling point. That's the main point of doing the things that we do, is that yeah, it feels like we're helping something that's greater than
yeah, and I think
just the 9 to 5 grind of paying the bills.
yeah, and even I mean, lucky enough, the company I work for is I don't know, progressive, a good company. I like
Mhm.
working for them. I like my job, and my boss and people I work with, like, I'm like, can I get off at 3 o'clock on Thursdays to run open mic night? They're like, can you like tell us about it and take pictures? I'm like, you can follow the garden Instagram. They're like, oh, okay. And now I have like coworkers that, because we're remote, they're like, well, when I come through Kansas City, I'm staying with you. We're doing a concert. I'm like, yeah, man, sure. Like, it's like it's kind of infectious almost to
Yeah.
people that aren't worried about my house catching fire like my parents or something like
Right.
that. But like, there's something out there like, man, this is cool. Like,
Right.
I I want to help, or I want to at least see it. I want to see it from a distance and see, how it works, because people just don't put shows in their backyard. People don't just. I mean, they do now. Like you said, shows are popping up more everywhere at
Mhm.
a bunch of different places, but um, it's like a new thing, and it's exciting for people, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Where can people find the garden and
The garden
yeah.
is the garden underscore KC underscore DIY on Instagram.
Mhm.
And we have Facebook, which is the Garden DIY.
Mhm.
It's a white logo with a leaf that says the Garden DIY. But TikTok, same thing, the Garden DIY.
Mhm.
I just kind of put. I'm not much. I gotta convince like Rachel or Jamogi to help me with TikTok, because
Yeah.
I'm like I just like share the stuff from Instagram to
Yep. Same.
TikTok,
Same.
and
Same.
someone told me that wasn't ideal. I'm like, I know, but like I'm
Yeah.
doing what I can here.
Yeah. Right.
So.
I'm already stretched pretty thin. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think maybe there'll be a website, maybe there'll be something eventually, which
Yeah.
would be cool. But Instagram works. People reach out to
Yeah.
us. We have a little link tree with like an artist submission form, which helps. So people fill that out. We can see all their stuff, what kind of music they play, and
Mhm.
sometimes they attach music to it. Sometimes we just go look on Spotify. But
Yeah.
yeah, Instagram works pretty well. I feel like we're kind of the generation of Instagram a little bit. Everyone has Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah. God, that's sickening. But
Yeah, I
the
know.
generation of the Instagram.
Well,
But
we're not the generation of TikTok and
yeah.
everything else.
Right.
Yet.
Right.
We're too old for that.
Yeah, well, Tanner, thank you for being on the podcast. If anyone who's watching, you should definitely go check out some of the shows, catch some of the shows of the garden, give them a follow, and yeah, thanks for being on, man.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Yeah.
Happy to have the conversation.
Cool.
Appreciate it.